Good afternoon and welcome to this version of Sittin' In with our illustrious alum. It's always a great day when we have one of our alums back, and Mr. Blake is certainly one of the people we are most proud of here at William Paterson for all of his achievements and all he represented while he was a student here. So, Mr. John Blake, thank you, Jonathan. Great
Thank
to
you. Thank you
have
for
you
having
with
me.
us on this
It's great
day.
to be back. It's certainly great to be back.
Yeah, and this is usually we're doing this sitting in seer thing before the concert, but in this
Right.
case, you and I have already been there because we slightly pre-recorded it, as they would say.
Right.
Johnny Carson used to say, we slightly pre-recorded this, and it's a great concert. If you're watching this sitting in on YouTube, do not miss it. It's
Oh
really
yeah.
amazing. I'm sure we will talk about the people in the band and things you played, great compositions and stuff.
Thank you.
Um, John, you come before we move any farther in this discussion. I want to pay tribute to your great musical heritage and to your dad,
Oh
John's.
yeah.
If viewers are unaware, Jonathan's dad, John Blake, was one of the truly great jazz violinists in history. I heard him a number of times with McCoy Tyner, played with everybody, played here at William Paterson a lot, and was also one of the truly amazingly great, kind, and generous human beings on the planet. And Jonathan, you have inherited a lot of that, not
Oh well,
just the
thank you.
musicianship, but all the other traits as well. So,
Oh well, thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, he was definitely an amazing father, but also just a great role model too. And I do remember playing one of the jazz rooms with his band. So it was,
yes,
for me, it was just like a surreal moment to come back and be on the same stage that I was, some 20 years ago or something like this. So,
yeah. Can you talk about your early musical upbringing?
oh, sure. I started at 3 years old on violin. My father was my first teacher, and then I started taking lessons through a program throughout Philadelphia called the Settlement Music School, and they offered lessons for students outside of public school programs. But then when I did start public school, there were some great. They started doing music in the school, so I started taking lessons on at school on violin, and then they had an orchestra that I was playing in from I guess around third grade,
Wow.
and it was just great, And then I guess right around when I was about 10 years old, fifth grade, they had a teacher come in and said if there's anyone that's interested in taking lessons on any other instrument, come to the auditorium after school, and you have to take some sort of proficiency test, which I
Mhm.
did, and I scored very high. And then once I did well in that, they allowed me to pick the instrument that I wanted to play. So of course I been wanting to play drums for very long. So um, I told them I wanted to play drums, and so they set it up with free lessons through the school.
Wow.
So it was great. And then when I did go on to middle school, I started playing in the jazz band that they had set up there,
Yeah.
as well as the orchestra and concert band. And then around that time, I also started playing with a great teacher by the name of Lovett Hines. He was a youth ensemble director in Philadelphia who taught people like Joey DeFrancesco, Christian McBride, uh, Robert Landum, Byron Landum, Jaleel Shaw, myself. A lot, the list goes on and on. So for me, at age 12, 13, it was just amazing because I was already starting to get into the music, but to have kids who were around my age who were into similar things, it was really beneficial for me. So
Yeah. Wow. That's an amazing.
great experience.
Settlement House is where Coltrane went there.
Exactly,
It
exactly.
wasn't called Settlement House
It was
then.
something else, yeah,
Um,
but they had them throughout the city. In Germantown, my father actually went to one in South Philly. They had them in West Philly, all throughout Philadelphia. So
did you live in New Jersey or in Philly?
I'm from Philly. I'm from Germantown, Philadelphia. I grew up
Okay.
in Germantown,
Okay. And what caused you to choose William Paterson?
It was funny. Like I had heard about the program, I think first through maybe Carl Allen. I think it was Carl Allen because I think he had went there, and then uh,
Yes.
Bill Stewart. These were drummers that I had been checking out, early on. And the one thing that stuck out to me was that, my dad, my father and I, we talked about it, and he was saying like one of the things that I think you need is really one-on-one individual attention to so that you can grow. And he was saying because that William Patterson was geared towards like smaller, like they kept the program pretty small as far as like student enrollment.
Hmm.
I would be able to get a lot more individual attention. So that would kind of like stuck with me. It was like, man, yeah, I really need that. So that was like really the the one reason that stuck out for why I chose to come to William Paterson. And then also, it was also then we when we started investigating, I was like looking at the lineup of instructors that you had. Like they were all people that were working musicians that were touring and playing in the city. Steve Torre, Steve Wilson was there, Horace Arnold, John Riley. So these were all people that I aspired to because I was like, man, I've heard them on record. I've seen some of them live. My dad was playing in Steve Torre's band,
Yeah.
um, in the mid '90s. So for me, it was just like, yeah, it was kind of like a no brainer. I actually um, did an audition at Manhattan School and got in. But it was just something about William Patterson, like Rufus Reed and you. I was just like, yeah, this is where it's gonna be. And I think it was funny because I felt that like I remember one of my high school instructors like, no, you got to go to Manhattan, you got to be in the city. And I was like, I don't know, I feel like William Patterson is close enough, and I think this will give me more what I need, more in the direction that I need. And I'm so happy that we made that choice.
Well, us too. And I remember you were really making an impact while you were there. I remember your senior recital right now. I can still remember it.
All right, I
You
remember
know,
that. Yeah.
we rebuilt the recital hall. That's a totally different place now.
Oh,
You know,
really? Okay.
oh yeah. My only wish is that we were having this discussion in that beautiful. Yeah, they put about 1.5 million into that
Oh,
whole
wow.
wing. So the
Okay.
recital hall's gorgeous now. It's really
Oh man,
beautiful.
man, I
And
wish I had
yeah,
more time to see it. I really wish I could have had to leave so quickly. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, I remember your recital and remember what an impact you were already making.
mm, okay.
What getting to the start of your career, there are going to be some of our current students and maybe some alumni watching. How did your career lift off? It started to lift already while you were with us.
That is true. In school, it did start. I started getting calls. I think one of the first calls was from the great Oliver Lake, saxophonist and composer.
Yeah.
Um, he asked if I would come and join his band. I was, we were, Patterson being in Wayne, I was very close to a lot of the other talents that are here in Jersey. So Oliver, living right in Montclair, said,
Yeah.
"Man, come to the house and let's work on some music." So he had a bunch of like big band music that he wanted me to try, and he asked if I would join a band. And then actually through that, one of the members in that band was the late great John Stubblefield, tenor saxophonist.
Ah, okay.
And Stubblefield at the time was playing also in the Mingus Big Band. So he
Oh, okay.
recommended me for that to Sue Mingus, and that's how I started working with the Mingus Band. And from there, it was just everybody in that band was pretty much leaders in their own right.
Hmm.
We were speaking a little bit earlier about Randy Brecker. He was there. Um, a very young Chris Potter was there when I was in the band. So I started networking and meeting these great musicians, and in turn we um, built a relationship together. And when they were looking for a drummer, I would sometimes get the call. So it was just a great experience to be around during that time, like in the mid to late '90s. was
Yeah.
really a surge happening with, with the way the music was being played, and yeah, there was just so much going on. So it's great to catch kind of that. I feel like that era of the music.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize that while you're at school, you're not a student. You're part of the thing. You're part of
Right.
the community, even though you may not realize it. You're
Right.
getting heard, and
Right.
that's the
Totally.
time to start your
Right.
career.
Yeah. Totally. I remember. He talks about that sometimes. Because I play with him quite a bit now. Is Vincent Herring. Vincent was like, I had him as one of my students in one of the combos, and I heard him. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to start using this guy. So it's and
Yeah.
the same thing with Steve Wilson, because Steve was one of the instructors when I was there, and also Steve Torre. And in turn, it was the same thing. It was like, man, I heard you in one of the ensembles, and not only were you playing great, but they were also saying that I was also bringing in original music, um, and that was something that was really big that I had started doing actually in high school with the
Huh.
with Mr. Hines encouraging myself and other members of the youth ensemble to bring in start writing down. So by the time I got to high school, I had already started writing many compositions.
Really, I didn't realize that because I was
Yeah.
aware that you were writing while you were a student here, but I thought that was a new thing.
No, I had started. I started like in probably like my second year in high school. Just started jotting down. Because I already could notate music and figure out chords on the piano. So, but it did help to have my father too, because sometimes he would help me to kind of figure out like better voicings for certain things. But he encouraged me, and also Mr. Hines encouraged me very early on. Like, look, you should really start considering trying to compose and write some music.
What were some of your first pieces? Do you remember?
Wow.
Were they just
I think the very first tune I wrote was called Almost There or something like that. And then that was kind of like a straight A tune. It was like and I think the second one was was about a plant that I that I had seen. Like I think I forget. I think it was called Aechemia fasciata. That was the name of the plant. And it's funny because I bought that in. I remember bringing that in for Robert Hines' youth ensemble. And just a couple years ago, Mr. Hines also teaches at Jazz House Kids over in Montclair.
Mhm.
He had me come in and do a talk with some of the kids, and he remembered that song. I had forgotten all about it. He was like, "What's the name of that song you wrote about the flower?" And I was like, "Oh wow, I forgot about it." And I repeat, he's like, "Man, I can't believe you knew that." But those were some of the first couple tunes that I wrote.
Yeah, so you got to save that stuff. I'm thinking I got my archive hat on here.
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
a
fun.
bunch of stuff here. I mean,
Yeah.
I try to go through it and just try to organize everything. So I want to, everything is not everything is digitized yet, but I want to try to get to that at some point.
Mhm. When you write, do you write for ever from multiple horns? I mean, do you write pieces that are kind of conceived like that, or do you just write a tune and then it kind of grows from there?
It depends. Sometimes I tend to write now with certain individuals in mind, like certain band members that I play with now. Kind of hear their voices when I'm composing, and then of course there's other times where where I have a melody or something in my head, and um, I always tell like students that I'm always like singing into my phone, so I have like a bunch of like voice recorder messages where I'm just like singing the idea, and then when I can get to a piano or something like that, uh, I try to flush it out and and see what happens. For me personally, I'm trying to get better at writing away from the instrument, away from the piano, away from the drums, because I feel like sometimes it'll give you a different view of how how something can sound. Whereas like if I'm right at the piano, I kind of have a general sense of what it's going to be. But if I'm away from the piano or from the drums, it's like okay, I really have to use more of my imagination to figure
Mhm.
out what I want to do. So, but I do enjoy composing for the for this latest band, Pentad. They've really been influencing me to Like I really feel like, wow, I can hear them with some of the newer compositions that I'm
Yeah.
writing. Because they just, they have such a grasp of their instrument. So and they have such, um, they have such a big imagination. So I know if I give it to them, they kind of view it as like almost like a blueprint, and they're going to take it and run with it. So
Mhm.
I've been enjoying hear how they approach some of the music that I'm
Yeah, I noticed you have a really specific way that you are writing for Joel on vibes.
playing.
Some of the things are very kind of orchestrated. I didn't know whether they are coming up with those or you did, or probably a combination of the two.
Yeah, some of it is a combination of it. Like some of it, like we some of the tunes we have been playing for a little while, so they'll hear it and they'll say, "Oh yeah, maybe we can do this," or what do you think about this? And it's like, oh yeah, I didn't think like that, but that's great. Yeah, let's keep that in.
Mm.
So it's a great conversation between all of us where I never like try to even though it might say my name, it just I always feel like it is almost like a collective. Like I like try to take everybody's input, and
Mhm.
kind of learn from what they're bringing to it, and hopefully they're learning from what I'm bringing to it. But I trust their musical input, so
Yeah,
I trust them as musicians. So otherwise I wouldn't be calling them. So
yeah. How long has Pentad been a band?
um, officially since like August of 2019.
Oh, it's a fairly new thing.
hmm
Okay. Those
Yeah,
people?
mostly, with the exception of Chris, the regular pianist is David Virelles, and David and Dezron and I work in Ravi Coltrane's quartet.
Yes.
We've been
Mhm.
together since about 2011. So yeah, when I wanted to, because I right before I put that band together, I was doing a trio with Linda O and Chris Potter, and we had done a record, and I was like, I loved it, but and I still love playing with them, but I wanted to kind of like venture out and kind of do slightly larger ensemble, and then actually the first gig with Pentat before it was officially Pentat was actually a co-led group that I did with Dezron Douglas. We had like a weekend at Smalls right around I guess it was right around New Year's Eve 2018,
Mm.
and we both were like, man, what should we do for this particular weekend? I was like, man, let's try to incorporate some younger musicians, and so that I've been hearing a lot about Emmanuel and Joel,
Yeah.
and people were like, man, you need to go check them out. So I think I went to hear Emmanuel's band at the Jazz Gallery, and I was like, man, this dude is amazing. He sounds great. And I never had really thought about, because I remember him as a small kid in Philadelphia, like his parents would bring him to shows that I'm 20 years older than him, so it was like, I would see him in the audience, and he was just like this little kid, like, and so, but to hear him now, it's like, man, he's incredible. So when that day came, I was like, man, I said, Dezron, let's maybe try to incorporate them, and we did it. We did 2 nights, and I was like, man, it felt great. And then I kind of my wheels started turning. I was like, man, I wonder if I, add piano. Let's see how this will work. And yeah, we did our first gig at a band as a band at the Jazz Gallery in August of 2019. I had
Mhm.
just written a bunch of new music, and I was like, man, this is great. It was an instant connection.
How did you talked about the connection with Ravi's band. How did you choose the other members
Um, well, with
of
Joel,
Joel? Yeah.
yeah, with Joel, I had used Joel on another project that hopefully we'll record. I got a commission a few years ago to write a whole batch of new music,
Hmm.
and
How did that happen? What was the situation?
the commission was through the Jazz Gallery and the Rockefeller Brothers Foundation, and what it entitled was me getting this money to write this music, and I also got to stay at the Rockefeller Brothers estate in Tarrytown for 2 weeks and just write music. And when I tell you, it was like it was heaven on earth, because you get this beautiful home, like 3-bedroom house that sits on their property, and no one there's like no one there. It's like I started talking to squirrels. I think I was going nuts for a couple of days. It was just it was
Going nuts. Yeah, that's good.
yeah, literally.
Yeah.
But it was just beautiful
All
because
they want to talk about.
yeah, it was so amazing because you know for me, like, I have to be in a certain situation to be able to even get some of my ideas out. And it was so different for me to being able to start an idea and actually finish it, because a lot of times, with, as you know, with a family with kids, it was like your thought process sometimes gets interrupted by other duties. So, is that a good way to put it, Doc?
Okay. Yes.
So, so this was just beautiful to be able to just wake up every morning and cook for myself. I got like a little expense card, and they bought groceries for me, stocked the refrigerator, had wash and dry everything, and all along the grounds of this huge estate, and it was just, oh man. So I was very inspired for those 2 weeks. So what came out was a suite, and the suite was actually dealing with different things that were going on at the time, especially like police brutality against people of color, African Americans, especially males. And one of the things that kept running through my head, it was something that my parents would always tell me about, like, if you see something and you don't say anything or do anything, you are part of the problem. So the suite is actually entitled "My Life Matters," and it deals with, like, not being afraid to speak out and speak up when you see something that's not right. So I asked Joel to be a part of the band, which also features one of the faculty members, Dana Stevens, on tenor saxophone, soprano, and iwi, and
Yeah.
a great young pianist named Fabian Amazon.
I've heard of him. I've never
Yeah,
heard him.
he's great. I first heard him with Terrence Blanchard's group,
Mm.
some years ago, and another great bassist named Rashawn Carter. And we premiered that, and so I just really fell in love with Joel's playing there,
Mm.
and I said, man, I really hope there's some more opportunities to do that.
Have
And I
you
already
have you recorded that suite?
not yet. That's hopefully going to be the next project.
Wow. Yeah. That sounds wonderful. I just
Yeah,
can't wait.
yeah. I really, it's like a 6 or 7 movement suite,
Wow.
and we have like some interludes, and so it's really it's really impactful. I've premiered it in a couple other places outside of the Jazz Gallery, um, and people have really the response has really been beautiful. So I really hope
Mm.
to.
Sounds like a jazz room to me.
Oh yeah, I would.
So,
Could be, it could be, yeah.
because that's
Um,
exactly the kind of thing we're looking for. Is like a
yeah,
concept
yeah. Well, I'll
thing,
have to. Yeah, I'll definitely keep it in mind. It's a really beautiful project. Um, it's just it was really something that I was really passionate about. And I kind of felt that I kind of looked throughout history, like with every with all our luminaries of this music, they all weren't afraid to speak out, whether it be Nina Simone, uh,
Yeah.
Max Roach,
Max. Mhm.
so I said, I have to do the same. So yeah, I'll send you, the live performance. There's a video performance of it, so I can
I'd love to hear that and see it.
link to see what you think.
You know.
But
Wow. Well, that's
yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. So so that's where I first got to know Joel, and then I knew that Joel and Immanuel had a history together because they played together, they went to school together.
Mhm.
So I already kind of knew that was going to be a nice vibe. And then I've known Immanuel, like I said before, since he was a young kid in Philadelphia. So there was a history there. And then you put together Dezron and David and myself, who we already have a connection from playing in Robbie's group. I was like, I think this might work. So yeah, it's been a joy. And then Chris and I Chris Davis, who sometimes plays piano. Um, I've
She's
known
quite
her
a special player, you know.
yeah, she really is. And I love what she brings. Every time I hear her play some of the music that we play, I'm just like, man, it's like, it's her thinking. It's just like, man, like I would never have thought to, play it like this. And it's just so beautiful. So, um, I got to hear her with her trio a few times, and then we were actually hired through some people to play a concert, and it was just for me. It was just magic from the first time. I said, "Man, I really love what she brings. She's always listening. She's so intently. So it's just like, and I just feel there's this sense of freedom. Like I can go anywhere with her, and she's it's really been a joy to get to know her playing and her music.
Yeah, her playing, her arranging and her playing are kind of unified. She thinks
Exactly.
like an arranger and
She
like a
really.
composer. When she's, it was beautiful to hear some of your compositions where she was involved because I couldn't tell where you stopped and she started.
Right, right,
You know,
right,
she was really making it a personal, right then kind of experience.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, one instance that comes to mind was actually a gig we did playing the music of some of John Zorn's music. We had
Uh,
a festival at the new school at the Tisch building, and I just remember like some of the. I think it was we played trio. It was myself and Chris and Eric Rivas, and just
mhm.
like some of the pieces that she picked for us to play in trio was just like wow, and just the way she, I mean, John already has a very distinct thing, as you know, but what she did with it was like wow, like she really took it someplace else that I didn't,
Uh,
that I didn't even think possible, and it was just awesome. So I've really learned a lot from just being in her presence these last
well,
few
it's
years.
an outstanding band, and so she's played with Pentad before.
She did. In I guess it was December of 2019.
Mhm.
I premiered the group at the Vanguard for a week, and David could only do half of the week. He did
Oh,
Tuesday,
okay. All
yeah,
right.
did Tuesday through Thursday, and she came in Friday through Sunday, and it was just great. I was making a joke. I was like, "Man, you're blending in like a great weave," like, so,
Yeah, because I
it
mean,
was
it
just so
sounded like a band. It didn't sound
yeah,
like a.
so and that was like from the first time, from the first note on that Friday. So I said, I always try, if David's not available, I always try to get her if she's available, and it's been great so far. So.
You were talking about having a family and other duties. How
Yeah,
do you find time to write and practice? Do you practice?
I try. I mean, I keep my drums set up, and I try to put in something every day. It
No.
it doesn't happen like this every day, but I try to put in something. And it's been sometimes it's a bit of a challenge. I mean, now my kids are teenagers, so I'm
Yeah.
not cool enough to hang out with anyway. So they kind of
No.
they kind of leave me
No.
alone.
You're going to be. It'll be. When they get to be about 25, all of a sudden you're going to get a lot less stupid.
Right, right,
You
right,
know,
right.
like
Right.
They'll realize, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I
you
might have
realize.
something together.
Yeah, exactly.
I,
Yeah, right now I can't do anything right. So
no.
I mean, we do. They do. They're older now, so they have their own set of friends and their own kind of life too. So it's kind of different now as opposed to when they were much younger and needed more attention.
Mhm.
But I still too, that's, I mean, I think one of the great things about, if there's anything to take away from this pandemic, was for me was like really being able to get my priorities together and being able to spend more time with them. I feel like just from touring, while it's a blessing to be on the road and traveling, I felt like I missed so much, and so
Mhm.
to actually be able to be home and be around them more, it's just been, for me, it's been a great experience, even if they don't want to be around me.
Oh, I have the feeling it's been a great experience for them too.
No, it's been cool. It's been cool. So, yeah, that's so it's yeah, it's been okay. I've been able to get some things done. I mean, for a while it was, it was just like, it took me a minute to just get used to the idea of just being here and being at home, being stuck at home. And then after a while, it's like, man, this is actually cool. I can get a lot of stuff done. And, I, organized all my music. I had music all over the place, and it was just like I was gonna drown in sheet music or whatever. Manuscript.
Yeah.
So at one point, I was able to put everything in folders, just try to organize certain things, organize my studio, and then also try to force myself to learn more of the, the technique, technical aspect of the, of the music. Getting mics, getting the whole audio stuff set up, because I never really did that before. So, talking to people, getting the right interface, to do lessons online or whatever. So, it's still a slow process, but like I'm doing something next week. Somebody sent me some music for this. Actually, it's Fabian. He sent me I guess it's like an MP3 of a big band track that he's doing, and it's everybody's done it from home, so I think I'm the last person that has to put it. So I'm just using Logic, and I have a whole mic set up on the kit, and hopefully it'll come across cool. So.
Wow. So they're adding the drums last. That's interesting.
Yeah. He was trying to. I wanted, first I wanted, because he asked me to do it, and I was like, well, I just want to make sure that, the drums, that you're happy with the way the drums sound. So I sent him a couple samples of myself playing through Logic, so that he could hear how the drums would sound. And he said, man, that's cool. So he finally gave me the okay. So yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Wow. Yeah, this whole thing has taught us. I've done the same thing. Finally get a nice recording mic and a Scarlett interface, and
right,
getting it all set up, and doing some recordings with people. You just
right.
Do you do a lot of teaching online too?
I have been doing more. I was kind of shying away from it because I was like, man, I have all this time. Let me just practice, as much as I can, And there, for a while, it was like I felt like I was practicing. I haven't practiced that much like since high school, probably, or maybe since college days. So it just felt so good to just sit at my own instrument and just, work things out. But then I started opening it back up. I was like, all right, let me take on a few students. So I do have some students, some private students, and then some students through the new school.
Okay.
Yeah, that I'm teaching on.
Cool. So. Well, that's good. After this concert, that may occur to some of our students. I'll put them in contact with you if you ever are interested. That would be great.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have, after all of this, we were talking earlier about, things finally getting a little more normalized. Do you have anything that you're really looking forward to once things get normal? I mean, do you have any projects that you want to complete? You were mentioning your suite.
Yeah, that's really like number one on the list for me. Like after this Pentad record comes out, which hopefully, fingers crossed, will come out, maybe late summer, early fall.
Uh-huh.
Then I really want to focus on recording this next project, because because the music's all ready to go, and one of the things that that kind of hindered it was Fabian had moved to Australia for a while with his Linda O, and
yes.
And
she's
so
pregnant, right?
Yeah, well, they just had a beautiful boy.
Oh, did they really? Oh, great.
Yeah, they had a beautiful baby boy. I have Fabian and Linda have sent me some photos, gorgeous. And so I think it was, for them, it was the right move to kind of get out of Dodge for a minute, because we didn't know what the situation was going to be. And
yeah,
and in Australia, they've really been able to keep the numbers down of COVID cases. So,
right. Yeah, the fact that they are an island.
Exactly.
It's like very simple solution.
Yeah.
No flights in.
Exactly.
It's a little easier problem than what we have.
Right.
Too.
So, yeah. So they, so I think they're coming back maybe towards the summer. So I want to use
Okay.
that opportunity to try to record the band.
Hmm. I
And
see.
and then I think that the other thing that I'm hopefully looking forward to, I think actually, if it happens, it would be great. We're going to try to make up some of the concerts that we weren't able to do with the trio with Kenny Barron and Dave Holland. So I look forward to
Good.
that because we were just getting started. We had started the tour right in March, right when everything was about to shut down. So we did 3 gigs at Ronnie Scott's, and that was it. We had to come home. I have some dates in the summer in Europe that hopefully, if the numbers keep going down and we can all get vaccinated, hopefully we'll get back to that. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
All the listeners here will know that, or want to know that trio kind of had an important chapter in our building a couple of
Oh
years,
yeah, yeah,
recording for that beautiful album that you guys put out.
yeah. Thanks to you, you really took care of us. I was I was just surprised. I had gotten an email. I guess it was from Dave, or no, maybe it was from Kenny's manager, and
Yeah.
asking, and you put a rehearsal. Can you get a rehearsal spot in New Jersey? I was like, all right, Jersey. Why would you guys want to come to Jersey? And so I immediately thought of William Paterson, and I was like,
Thank
and
you.
just very open. So it was great. So and I just remember your reaction when I was like, yeah, like, who are you gonna bring? I was like, well, it's gonna be Barron and Dave Holland. Like, what?
I know. I think I better sweep the floor. Not that we wouldn't have swept the floor for you, but
uh,
you called up and said, can I have a trio rehearsal there? And I said, sure, John, that'd be great. Come on, you're welcome back anytime. Then you told me you're bringing royalty with you.
yeah, it's funny. Yeah, but
Oh,
yeah, I really look forward to doing more with them, and then also another project that I'm really excited about doing more of is Maria Schneider's
yeah.
project with her her new release that I'm honored to be a part of, called Data Lords. And that was another project that got postponed, as far as like tour
Yeah.
date. It was supposed to be out pretty much all of April, and then some stuff in the fall. So I think towards the fall of this year into
Mhm.
next year, we're going to be doing more with that. So I'm looking forward to that also.
Can you talk about big band drumming versus all the other stuff you do? It's really a different animal, and the two main big bands you played with are so different from each other. The Mingus band,
Right,
which is kind of a wide open thing, and
right.
Maria's band, which is,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
tightly
yeah.
rehearsed.
It's funny, it's yeah. For me, it was with the Mingus band, one of the things that I learned going in was almost thinking of it, oddly enough, as like almost like a small, like the way we played, like the way the rhythm section would play behind the soloist or whatever. It was,
Mhm.
we were almost thinking like it was a quartet or a quintet.
Mhm.
um and because that music was so wide open, it could go so many different places. And and most of the people in that band liked that. They liked us to keep it open, and kind of like flying by the seat of our pants, so to speak, like not knowing what was going to happen next.
Mhm.
um so that for me, that was an amazing introduction to playing more of more big band stuff. I mean, I would say, prior to that, preface it that with Oliver Lake's big band, which was also, there was a
Ah,
lot of
of
through
course.
composed stuff, but it was also wide open too.
Mhm.
He gave us a lot of space to like create, different kind of soundscapes and stuff like that. So, so I kind of had a bit of an introduction to that going into the Mingus big band. Um,
Mhm.
but when I went to Maria's band, it was kind of, it was just a kind of a different bird. It was like, wow, it deals with a lot of colors, but there's a lot of stuff that's really on the page for you. So
Right, it's there.
it's like, I can remember my first rehearsal with them. I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'll ever get the call back. It was just like, it was just really different for me. But then it just, by the time the gig happened, I kind of realized, I was like, oh, I kind of see what it's required of me. But then once I started doing the band more, I found out how open she was in general. So I started just slowly introducing certain things to kind of make
Uh-huh.
it more of my own. So,
Yeah.
where there was a tune that had been playing for years, maybe changing the section up and playing a different groove, or changing the color up, or changing the mood up. And when I saw she was really open to that and she encouraged it, I was like, oh, now I can, do more of me, and feel more like how I would approach playing a big band. And I think she really liked that. And then I slowly started noticing our music was starting to change. I guess almost kind of geared towards more how I was playing. Like a little more freer in certain spots, and a little more like um, less less stuff being heavily notated. It was like, okay, what are you hearing, and what colors are you hearing here? So even on the record, like there's stuff where I'm just playing like waterphone, or I'm playing
Huh.
like very like like scraping the cymbal with the tip of the stick to get a
Yeah.
different sound. What else was I playing? It was waterphone. There was some other percussion stuff that I was doing.
Huh.
She has a song called Stone Song, which is this ceramic stone, like this stone with like this kind of like shaker in it, and so whenever you spin it, it creates this sound. So I was playing that on one of the tunes. So it was just like she was really like, she was giving me a lot of space to figure out like what am I hearing on this, and I really enjoyed that. I've really been enjoying playing this new music because it really can go so many different places.
When I heard that you had joined the band, I remember kind of going, this is a this is a whole this is going to change things.
Yeah, it's
You
really
know,
nice.
not
It's
that it
really
needed changing, but this is a whole evolutionary step for her.
right. And I'm glad that she was, because I even felt like for a while, you want to be right for every situation, but sometimes you're just not right for it. And at first I felt like maybe I'm not the right guy for this, and then slowly I was like, oh, making some adjustments on how I can play certain things, and then
Mhm.
I was like, wow, this is actually cool. And I remember I kind of knew I was doing okay because I remember one night we were playing at the Standard, and Professor Rufus Reed came to the gig and sat right in the front row, and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And and I was like, after the gig, I wanted to just go right to the back, and he got me, and he's like, man, you're playing the mess out of that music. And then he said that to me, with Doris there, and it was just beautiful because I was like, man, now he gave me the okay that I'm doing all right. And I remember him saying that, and then even after that, he went ahead and sent me this beautiful email that I kept, and he was just like, man, I'm so proud of what you've become, and you're really just playing the mess out of this music, and it's so great to hear. So I was like, all right, cool, I think I did all right.
Well, you're playing when you're in school here, and when it's your compositions or when it's Maria. It's always been about the music.
Mm,
It's never been about you.
right.
I mean, it is about you because you bring so much to it, but it's always been that you're so dedicated to making the music happen.
Oh, thank you.
You
Yeah, I
know,
think that's an important part. Really just because the drums is such a powerful instrument, and it can easily make or break the band. And I never wanted to be the one that's breaking the band. I really wanted to just, I want to add as much as I can, but also just like remain, to help, whatever needs to be helped, or to do whatever needs to be done to help make the performance even, that even greater. So,
well, the drummer, needs to be the best musician in the group
right.
because the drums have the least notated.
That's right. That's true.
It's all up to you really how the
Right.
music feels. And yeah,
Right.
you've always, in the rare opportunities where I've had a chance to play with you, it's always like, wow. It's
Wow.
just, you lift the whole thing to another place. So,
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to that happening for the audience, for that happening today. I've already experienced it,
Yeah.
but This is an outstanding group. And I'm also glad, by the way, for those William Paterson people watching this, we're having an alumni hang with the aforementioned Rufus after the concert.
Yes. Gotta invite all
And
my
I'll be
friends.
there. Pete McGinnis will be there. So, yeah, we'll have a lot of William Patterson history there.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I can't
Yeah,
wait to
me
see all
neither.
those faces. It's been way too
I
long.
know. I have no idea who's coming. There's not
Me
a.
neither. I'm gonna send
Yeah.
out a blast on Facebook to, like private messages to a bunch of the alumni and see, see
Yeah.
if see who comes out. I recently got in touch with. Do you remember Suna, who launched the tier?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I recently reached out to her because I think next year Maria's trying to bring the band to Iceland.
Ah,
So I wanted to put Maria in touch with Suna. So I got in touch with her, and it was so great to hear back from her. And because I've been a fan of what she's been doing, a lot of solo piano stuff, and then some stuff trio, and it's been great to hear what she's doing. So it was really nice to reconnect with her. So
one of Shuna's students is now here at William Patterson.
get out of here, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Sarah Magnusdottir is her name.
Oh, okay.
And
Oh, wow.
she sounds so much like, I don't mean derivative, but I mean she was mentored by Shuna.
Right, right, right.
And she right now is actually, thank God for Zoom in that way. She's stuck in Iceland.
Oh, wow.
And we're doing one of our ensembles with Jeffrey Keyser. Jeffrey.
Oh, nice.
He was a member of, there's a picture of it right over here with the contemporary piano ensemble with
Oh,
James
yeah.
Williams, Mulgrew, Harold Mabern,
Mabern.
sometimes Donald Brown, and
Exactly.
Jeffrey.
Exactly.
And as it worked out, 4 of our students who were stuck all online, one of them in this country, but then 2 more in Korea, and
Oh,
Sarah in Iceland. I went to Jeffrey and I said, it's the band.
Wow,
Let's do
that's
it.
crazy.
So, of course, right 10 feet from me is all the music in
Wow.
James's collection. So we resurrected the music and got it out there, and they're doing it.
Oh man, that's one of my favorite records. I love that. Actually, one of Jeff Keyser's tunes, "Hibiscus," is one of my
Yes.
favorite tunes on there.
Yep, they're doing that tune.
Wow, I love that tune. I love that tune. Yeah. So.
And what they're doing is Jeffrey right now is the bass player, like just playing one-handed keyboard bass.
Oh,
And then
okay.
we're going to bring in a bass player and a drummer from here and
Oh,
add them after the fact. But
oh man,
yeah,
that's gonna be awesome. That's
kind of
amazing.
miraculous, the Intercontinental Contemporary Piano Ensemble.
That's
It's
amazing.
great
That's
that you
great.
know that band.
Oh yeah, yeah. I have their first record, which they dedicated to Phineas Newborn Jr. I think it's
Yes.
called Four Pianos for Phineas.
Yeah.
And that's another great one. But I really love the one I think it's for DIW or something like that.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
DIW.
and
Yeah.
it's Tony Reedus or is it Louis
Yeah.
Lamb?
Tony
Tony
Reedus, and is it
Reedus.
Christian?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Christian, right?
Yeah, there's a photo over here from James's office wall of that band
Oh man,
live.
that's one of
You know?
my favorite groups. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's interesting how Shuna, that legacy is continuing.
It's continuing
And
on. It's
Sarah is such a
amazing.
beautiful musician and beautiful player. I'm gonna have to send her this
Oh man, I gotta hear
video.
her sometime, man.
Yep.
Just
Yeah, we're looking
Suna's
forward to
such a
having her
great
back.
player.
Hopefully,
What's that?
So we're looking forward to having her back.
Right,
She's
right, right.
a sophomore now,
Okay,
so she's
okay.
just 19, 20.
Wow.
You know.
Oh, unbelievable.
Yep. But the
Unbelievable.
legacy continues.
That's great, man. Yeah, I can't wait to hear her. I have to come up there and once stuff starts opening back up and hopefully get to hear her
Yep.
hear her live.
Yeah, I'm hoping that sometime Shuna comes back to New York and we could do if she comes back in the next couple of years, we could have Sarah do the opening. Shuna
Ooh,
plays there you go.
that would be perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
That'd be great.
yeah, we have a lot of that now where students of former students
Right, right,
come
right.
back.
That's man, that's such an amazing thing that's happening,
That legacy,
constant- yeah, that legacy happening. So
Yep, and you're a huge part of it, Jonathan.
oh well, thank you,
Huge part
thank
of
you.
it.
Yeah. Well,
And I thank you for this. We're coming up on an hour now, so I want to make sure and can't keep people from seeing the show. You know?
right, right, right.
They'll press delete and go on if it's 4 o'clock. So,
Right. Wow.
but thank you for this. This has
Oh,
fantastic to talk to you, and
Likewise.
I'm just sorry it's not in person, but uh, I anticipate a lot more of your involvement here at William Paterson because, as I said, you're a big part of the feel, and you represent a lot, so much of what this program is about, that versatility, musicianship, total mastery of the instrument, composition, everything. So,
thank you. Yeah, well,
I look forward to a lot more with you.
well, I look forward to coming back and being there, and anything I can do, be of service. Is that's, you guys. You have me anytime. It's so beautiful to be back there, and it was just it was really great to see everybody, and I really look forward to. I had I guess it was 2019 where I was able to sub a couple days for
Yes.
Bill Charlap, and it was just great to be back in those hallways again. So
Yep. Well, we got to do that back when there's something to sub for.
yeah, right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well,
You know,
anytime, just let me know.
thank you. Thank you. Well, we'll I think people can expect to see a lot more of you around here, but first make sure you go to that concert. It'll be
Yes, please.
yes. So a great musical experience. So
Yeah.
thanks very
Hopefully
much,
enjoy it.
Mr. Johnathan Blake.
Thank you, Mr. D.